The CBI do is lobby government on things like border checks on the goods that are imported into Britain, and that's something you've a guest on this morning.
Well, quite, yes. New rules going to be in place from October this year, some of them at least. There's been a series of delays about border checks on goods imported into the UK, but we will start to see some customs checks introduced that the government says will reduce the need for physical checks for many types of goods, while the government says being thorough enough to protect against concerning diseases. Talking about this an hour ago, about laying out exactly what that might be. I've got Shane Brennan with me now, Chief Executive of the Cold Chain Federation that represents chilled food traders. Shane, morning to you. What do you think of these new plans?
We're deeply concerned. There's an inevitability that these controls had to come in at some point. We were promised that they would be radically redesigned and rethought to be the best, least intrusive way of doing this possible. Unfortunately, what came out yesterday isn't really that. It's not radical. It's not massive rethink. It's actually going to be all the things we feared would happen, probably coming to pass starting 8 weeks before Christmas this year.
That's not what I heard an hour ago from the Institute of Export and International Trade. I was hearing about a digital-first, risk-based approach that will reduce costs of food providers around Europe.
There's lots of promise in the document, but there's been promises for 6 years. Actually, when you read the detail of the document, I fear that actually most of that stuff is promised in the future, and what actually starts in October is very much the same sorts of burdens and problems we've experienced for UK-based food exporters trying to sell into the EU since the 1st of January 2021.
What are the consequences of, if as you say, there are more burdens for some of those businesses that export from their country and we import into ours?
Well, imagine you're an EU food exporter of, say, Parma ham or buffalo mozzarella. As of October, you need to know new complex rules, find a local vet, pay them between 200 and 700 euros to fill in complex forms, find a specialist haulier, if one exists, to carry the goods, pay a customs agent 50 to 200 euros to upload details to a new UK IT system, and pay new UK inspection charge of new border tax of up to £42 to do for the privilege of doing so. A significant number of those types of exporters will choose not to do it. But that's what happened on the outbound, and that's what will happen this time coming the other way.
Will we see more businesses from further around the world be more interested in doing business here if it makes it easier for them?
Yes, if we sort of reduce and restructure, basically there'll be a big realignment coming. But the thing is, it will be a painful realignment. There will be significant short-term disruption. Nothing in these plans is going to stop that from happening. So of course, we will still get food from places around the world, both the EU and elsewhere, but it will be more expensive, there'll be less choice, and it will be slower and more complicated to do.
So just super briefly, could push up inflation, are you saying?
It certainly won't help the inflationary pressures we're already seeing in the food market.
Shane, thank you very much. Shane Brennan, Chief Executive there of the Cold Chain Federation.
Sean.